What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we've been covering these court cases with Donald Trump and everything that's going on with him quite heavily. Now we've got some more information. We've got an update. We've got the appeals court. Check this out, y'all. This is from Politico, by the way. Appeals court clears the way for Musk Doge to resume cuts to USAID. And as a matter of fact, they have. They fired the remaining USAID employees. They are down to 900 staffers at this point, and they are transferring those people right on over to the State Department, where the State Department is now going to take over responsibilities of USAID and actually giving out aid. Real aid, what you would think of as aid to these foreign countries, right? Not the nonsense aid that they were giving out, like a transgender play in Brazil or something like that, right? Like, none of that nonsense is going to be going on, right? USAID is getting shuttered for a good time because we looking into a lot of this. Right, this is where the funding from a lot of Democrats were coming from. We'll say allegedly, because there is some evidence to point in that direction. But let's get into this story because it's fascinating, y'all. Once again, like I always say, you know, we need to reserve our response on a lot of these, you know, because we've got a lot of federal activists on the circuit. On just the regular federal circuit, not in the appeals court. We do have some in the appeals, in the appellate division, but we've got a lot of activists, so a lot of these orders are going to get overturned on the immediate, if you will. But once they get to appeals, and, you know, even if the appeals court, once it makes to the Supreme Court, a lot of this is going to get overturned because when you look at the statute and you look at the actions of the Trump administration, everything seems to be on the up and up for the most part, right? There's some things that are a little bit out of balance that maybe, yeah, hey, hang on, Trump, you need to get your act together a little bit here. But for the most part, we're doing pretty good with this. I can't stand all this nonsense that we've been finding, right, with USAID, with Doge, what Doge has been finding, right? All this waste, abuse, nonsense. It's just got to go. And you got to look at some of the arguments back and forth. Well, like, these people are getting so pissed off about this, and it makes absolutely no sense. None of it makes any sense, right? But you can always tell when you see somebody get so upset over something that normally would seem like a very logical thing to do. Hang on, there's something deeper going on here, right? Seems like every accusation is a confession once again, y'all. But let's get into this. A federal appeals court on Friday cleared the way for Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency to resume their efforts to shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development. The ruling from a 3-judge panel of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals lifted a lower court judge's injunction that had temporarily blocked Musk and Doge from playing any role in dismantling USAID. The decision comes just as the Trump administration is making a final push to effectively dissolve the agency tasked with administering foreign aid. Earlier on Friday, the State Department officially notified Congress of its plans to eliminate the agency, according to Democratic lawmakers. And a member of Doge, who is also Deputy USAID Administrator, sent a memo to USAID personnel worldwide announcing that the overwhelming majority of the agency's employees will have their jobs cut on either July 1st or September 2nd. This is great news, y'all, because there was a whole lot of activists working for USAID. And once again, this is not saying that any foreign aid, any real aid, any assistance like earthquake assistance in Myanmar is going to stop. Once again, like I said, we saw evidence and news articles that the Trump administration absolutely noticed that some of this aid, this actual like humanitarian assistance, we'll call it that, was getting shut off. And they said, hang on, we can't do that. We need to resume the humanitarian assistance, the actual humanitarian assistance. And they absolutely did that. You know, once again, and this should have kicked the chair out from underneath Democrats. But it didn't for some reason, right? You would figure that because that was the argument. Oh, they're shutting down humanitarian assistance. And then, boom, he resumes the humanitarian assistance, but the arguments didn't stop. I wonder why that is. Well, come to find out, most of the funding from USAID was left-wing, ideologically driven nonsense, like I always say. So there you go. They wanted to fund their pet projects, and they're mad because it's getting shut off. Wonder what was really going on with that. Like stuff we don't actually know about. Earlier this month, U.S. District Judge Theodore Chwang, I guess that's how you pronounce that, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, a Maryland-based appointee of President Barack Obama, ruled that Musk and his Doge allies were likely exercising an unconstitutional amount of power because Musk has not been formally appointed to a Senate-confirmed position. Doesn't have to be, he's just an advisor. He blocked Musk and Doge from proceeding with USAID cuts. That's another argument. They're like, Elon Musk he's wielding too much power. He's an unelected bureaucrat. He wasn't Senate confirmed. You know what? He's just an advisor. He's not firing anybody. It's funny. He's not shuttering USAID. He's not going into the Treasury. He's doing none of these things. But he is working in conjunction with Doge to actually be the face of Doge and say, this is what Doge is doing, for crying out loud, and advising them on where to go and what to do. But it is actually Senate-confirmed administration officials, people with the right authority, that are actually saying, okay, Elon Musk, we see what you're saying here. We see that USAID is funding a bunch of nonsense. Let's shut it down. You're all fired. It's not Elon Musk that's firing anybody, as a matter of fact. So, that argument, once again, we kicked the chair out from underneath Democrats on this one, but the argument still remains. They didn't fall. For some reason, they seem to be levitating. How is that even possible? I have no idea. All three judges on the Fourth Circuit panel agreed that Chwang's block should be lifted, though they did not all agree on the reasoning. Judge Marvin Quattlebaum, a Trump appointee on the appeals court, wrote that Musk's actions are not unconstitutional because he is a valid presidential advisor and his efforts to cut USAID were approved by officials with direct authority over the agency. Like I was saying, the administration, Quattlebaum wrote, has presented evidence that in all pertinent actions, Musk acted as a senior advisor to the president and not as an administrator of Doge, and that all decisions pertaining to USAID were either made or approved by those so authorized. Judge Paul Niemeyer, who was appointed by President George H.W. Bush, who clearly has been on the bench for a while, joined Quattlebaum's opinion. Judge Roger Gregory, an appointee of President Bill Clinton, agreed with the end result, lifting Chwang's injunction, but disagreed strongly with the rationale. Here we go, watch this. He wrote that Musk likely has been operating in violation of the Constitution's Appointments Clause, and that the dismantling of USAID likely violates the express will of Congress. Likely. But once again, on something like this, you have to prove it, my guy. He's making this big accusation, right? Okay, so get this idea. Now, the corporate press and all these people, they're not going to break all this down. But think about this for a second. Okay, so this judge sitting on this panel agrees with the end result, that the ban should be lifted. Interesting that is. Although he also says that he's clearly breaking the law. Wonder why that would be. Why would he agree with this? Why would he go with that? Because he's making a statement. He's not making a judgment, a ruling based upon the Constitution, right? Because Elon Musk is clearly not directing any of these people to do anything. He is getting information from these people at the behest of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump says, go into USAID and find some fraud. So what do? Elon Musk just sits back, waits for Doge to come back with information and says, that's interesting, goes to President Trump and says, this is what we found. President Trump then directs whoever is in charge of USAID, which at this point I believe is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio starts laying off people left and freaking right and tells any other administrators in USAID, do this, cut this, blah, 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 transfer this to the State Department, and so on and so forth. So This judge trying to pretend that this likely violates the Constitution, and yet he's going to agree with the decision, is very, very, very suspect, if you ask me. It makes me believe that this judge doesn't believe the very drivel that's coming out of his mouth. We may never know how many lives will be lost or cut short by the defendant's decision to abruptly cancel billions of dollars in congressionally appropriated foreign aid, Gregory wrote. We may never know the lasting effect of defendants' actions on our national aspirations and goals, but those are not the questions before the court today. Right. So that's a good way out for him. Oh, they're causing so much damage, but I'm going to allow it to continue. Sure, go right ahead, buddy. Go right ahead. The challengers can appeal the ruling further in other lawsuits contesting various USAID cuts remaining pending in other courts. Supporters of the agency also promised further litigation over the new cuts announced Friday. For now, though, the Fourth Circuit ruling removes a significant roadblock to one of President Donald Trump's day one priorities, pausing foreign assistance and shuttering the agency tasked with implementing it. You gotta love that, y'all. You gotta love that. Oh, they're shutting down our foreign assistance. Well, when you look into that foreign assistance, you come to realize that how is that foreign assistance? I love this argument from these people that these programs that they were running somehow is foreign assistance. Yeah, think about that for a second. This is why they can get away with saying that, because what is assistance? What is foreign aid? Could be anything, right? Because if you're helping somebody do something, that's assistance, y'all. You are rendering aid to said person. That's why I can't stand how, the corporate press, they label this, oh, it's foreign aid. Oh, and they keep calling it USAID, the agency itself, instead of, United States Agency for International Development. Because think about that for a second. Developing what? What are we actually developing? Does that not sound like some sort of democracy-building organization, right? Nation building, if you will. And I don't know how many people out there in the viewership of this channel agree with nation building, but I absolutely do not. Sure, if they want some sort of framework for how to some blueprints for the government, if you will, how to set up your legislative body, how to set up your executive branch, how to set up the judiciary, then hey, it doesn't take millions and billions of dollars to do so. All we got to do is send over a congressional expert, right? A judiciary expert, an executive branch expert. Send over a copy of the Constitution. Say, here you go, rewrite your Constitution. There you go. Set your government up in such a fashion to where you have co-equal branches. That's all you got to do. That is words, folks. Words can be cheap. They can be free and be worth a lot of money, right? You don't have to actually give out billions and billions of dollars for democracy building all over the place to be able to do so. We can nation build, in other words, without spending hardly any money at all. Flight costs and hotel stays, if you will, and some paper here and there. Like, what does that actually cost? But that's not what they're doing. And this is why they're so pissed. Because all their pet projects are now being shuttered. They're being shut down. And this has been going on for years and years and years. Right? So, once again, a lot of this money, once it goes out the door, there's no oversight for any of that. So we have no idea where it goes. This is why there is evidence that some of this money goes out to some of these climate funds that goes to an NGO or something. And then what do they do with that? A lot of these NGOs, these very same NGOs, donate to Act Blue. What does Act Blue do? Well, they fund the democratic apparatus in this country. So, once again, that is what Donald Trump is actually going after, the democratic funding apparatus. This is why they're so pissed, y'all. And this is why it's such a good move. This is why they're fighting so hard. They're spending millions of dollars in all these lawsuits to try to shut it down. They don't care about other people. You really think they're going to spend millions of dollars to try to force the federal government to send foreign aid to another country? Really? They're going to spend that much money, take that much time out of their day to ensure that this country gets vaccinations? No, I'm sorry. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. Plus, once again, when you look at some of the programs, yeah, we see what's going on here. We have eyes. We can't prove it, right? Because it's just evidence that points in that direction. But we can actually see what's going on. And I am here for it, y'all. Once again, I'm loving all of this, but I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It blows my mind the lengths that Democrats are willing to go to fight for their funding. Oh, sorry, to fight for foreign aid. Y'all have a good one. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.